Hi there viewers, I'm the Extraordinary Tourist and welcome to part 6 of my video diaries documenting the creation of my artwork, Three Wise Colour Monkeys. In this episode I continue to work on the shading of the monkeys and the tree that they're sitting in. As I get closer and closer to being finished, I had thought I might have been finished by this episode. In fact, I thought I was going to be finished last episode, but so far not the case. But we're getting a lot closer, so without further ado, we'll get into the Speedpaint and I'll tell you more about where this artwork is at. So last episode I'd sort of done a bit of shading, mainly using blue on the monkeys and the tree. I started shading the blue monkey and then just took the blue I used on him and extended it out across over into the red and the green monkey. And that blue, when overlaid on the red and the green, looks more red and green on those two monkeys than it does blue. In this particular stage I started out working on adding shading to all the yellow areas of the picture, and you can see here that I've mixed a very orangey looking yellow, or you might call it a gold colour perhaps, and I'm just sort of filling in where I think all the shadows should be on each monkey's shorts, braces, and on their yellow parts of their face. You can see me a couple of times using my fingers to actually erase where I've put too much paint, which tends to work reasonably well. Because I don't use my paints in a really runny form, they tend to be fairly thick, and you can usually wipe off any small areas of paint that extend a bit too far, as long as it's not a thick area of paint, somewhere where you've just extended with a little sort of thin area of paint. It's usually easy enough to just wipe off with your finger. Here now I've gone from my orangey yellow to a more brown yellow to really define the darker parts of the shading in the yellow parts of the monkeys and their shorts. And I wasn't actually sure if I'd gone too dark with the yellow, but at least this dark yellow, sometimes can be a bit hard to tell because acrylics in general tend to dry a little bit lighter than what they are when you first apply them. And as it turned out, this sort of dark yellow, dark sort of light brown colour actually worked out quite okay once it dried. And once I'd finished applying it to the monkeys, I decided I'd lighten that up a bit because it was pretty much brown by that point, and I decided it'd be good for doing the highlight on the tree, as you can see here. All it took was to add some white to it, and it made it a fairly good colour to add in those highlights on my tree branch and the side of the tree. And this is something I do quite a lot. If I'm using a colour in one part of the painting, rather than just waste any of the paint that's left, I try and repurpose it to another part of the painting. And in that way I can use more of my paint and waste less of it. It doesn't always work. Quite a lot of the times I'll mix too much of the wrong colour, or too much of a colour, and it turns out to be the wrong colour, and is totally useless, so I have to sort of waste all of it and just clean it off my palette. But more often than not, it does work. You can see here I added a bit more white to it so that I could really add some really bright highlights to that tree in places. And from there, I think I actually, I added even more white and a bit more yellow into that colour so I could do highlights on the yellow areas of the monkeys, sort of top of their shorts and top of their faces. So you can see just by doing these highlights in like the really light areas and the really dark areas, the three-dimensional form of these monkeys is really starting to take shape now. They're really starting to sort of stand out from the background a lot more and generally getting sharper. There I decided to use a little bit of extra red that I hadn't mixed up to do the hair on the red monkey, and then I added some white to that to start putting in some of the highlights on the red monkey's actual body. So I'm sort of putting a pink colour in now where I think the highlights should be on that. And generally where I'm adding the highlights is kind of where they would be. I'm not overly fussy if I get one in the wrong place. So long as it doesn't look completely out of place, I'll sort of stick with it. And I think what I did after that was mixed up a green so I could do my green highlights on the green monkey. And once I did that, that was pretty much where I left the painting for this stage. So you can see me just adding the green highlights there. And see how the monkey himself is starting to really pop from the background just by adding those highlights to. Yep, so that's pretty much where I left off at this particular stage. So there you go. I hope you found this episode of my diary series interesting to watch, and as you can see, the painting is quite a bit further along and getting a lot closer to being finished. Hopefully by the next diary entry I will be able to show you a finished artwork, but this has actually taken a lot longer than I thought to get finished. But bearing in mind this has been my first acrylic painting for quite some time, so my estimation on how long it was going to take me is a little bit out. I used to be able to do a painting of this size in a couple of afternoons, but it has been a while and I've only been working on it sort of on and off for just under an hour once a week, so I guess if you added all that up, maybe that would come out to my 2 afternoons, who knows. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll tune in next time for what I hope will be the final episode in this series. So until then, thanks for watching.